All right, people. Hey, if you love my humor, let me know. I will continue this. Now, when you have a nation in decline due to the fact that they raped, tortured, experimented on their best and brightest, which were the white children connected to the ancient Israelites, once they were done with all that, they needed to maintain a culture of corruption. This is where you see the moral decay of society. You see where people become weaselly little cowards, unable to stand up, point out the wheat from the tares, point out the God fearing individuals from these demons, these devils, these Satanists. So, me being in Mexico is very difficult. I have a very basic understanding of the Mexican language. But with that being said, there's a lot of Americans down here. They seem to want to retire down here to make their money go further. But what you find is if I was able to talk to some of these investigators that I actually look, I'm the stalker. I try to stalk these people now to talk to them because they run and hide from me. Do you believe that, folks? I want to tell them how, like, if you're doing an investigation, and we'll just take the United States as example, all right? Because they're supposed to be this beacon of hope, right? Where everybody can go and find success, peace of mind, they won't be harassed, no oppression, no poverty, none of that. But what happens is, in the process of dealing with some, let's just say, unsavory characters, these criminals, there's bad guys out there. They're looking to cause mischief. What happens is in the United States, when a crime is committed, what happens is in order to open an investigation, the individual or group that the crime was committed against needs to report the crime to the, I guess, closest investigative authority, whether it's the police, the FBI, take your pick. I don't know what's out there anymore because look, they've been setting up shop everywhere. You don't know who's who anymore. So what happens is once the investigative authority receives the complaint of a crime being committed, they will begin to do an investigation. Now, one of the first things that you do when you start an investigation, you look for witnesses in order to establish whether or not a crime has been committed or not. And interestingly enough, when you have a departure from that first basic tenet of opening an investigation, you go down this slippery slope of lies where you begin to really get in the realm of this gray area on whether or not someone's being set up for a crime, right, in order to maybe cover up crimes against them. Is that possible? Has that ever happened? Has it? Can anybody tell me? Now, let's say, take me for instance, Paul Wilson Lindner Jr., 56-year-old MK Ultra, satanic ritual abuse survivor with these implants. I've already established my case against the American Nazi Edomite Jew Satanist. So what happens is they couldn't kill me off as a kid. They did what they did. They had their fun, but they did something that they couldn't turn back from. But what they had to do was leave me alone. And they always probably stayed right there in the shadows in order for me not to figure this out in my 20s and 30s. But see, by the time my 40s hit, these implants started failing, blood coming out of my mouth. I go to my family first. They dummy up because they know what they did. They know who they are. They know that they cannot come clean And it gets down to it, folks, is that when there is a no point of no return, well, hey, you just pretend. You pretend that you don't hear any of this. And so they've abandoned me a long time ago. Matter of fact, it was my birthday the other week. I was forced to talk to them because they still try to communicate with my son, who they've tried to brainwash, along with his mom. But they did the same thing. They mocked me. They know I'm down here, destitute, poverty, near ready to be kicked out onto the street, here in Mexico, where these Mexicans have been bought off to keep an eye on me when they've done shit for their own country. I'm supposed to be this big, crazy criminal that they got to keep an eye on, folks. That's why the whole neighborhood has cameras now. I mean, this is unheard of, man. They must be worried about something. Is the cartel camping out in this neighborhood? Really? I like to know what's going on. So look, we know what's going on. So when you continue the investigation and you get to the point where you've got no witnesses, you have really no clues to go on, what you have to do is you close the investigation and move on to something else, because there's actually real crimes being committed on a daily basis. You would think some of these community watch types in Mexico would be able, to help these authorities solve some of these crimes. But what would happen if they reported about the cartel committing a crime? What do you think would happen? Well, we know what will happen. The individual that's the snitch, the rat, the stoolie, they're going to have an unfortunate accident, or maybe one of their family members. That's why these people hide in their houses. Now they know if they dare spoke up against the cartel or the corrupt police or whoever, that, you know what, they're gonna get the screws put to them, right? What would happen? Maybe when they go sneak out at night to go to the store, like I said, an unfortunate accident. Do you get the picture, people, on how this works? So what happens is, see, they're trying to say that I'm this criminal and I'm part of this big criminal caper, but they can't figure nothing out. So what they had to do is because, see, my son's mom is Mexican, from Rosarito Beach, Mexico. They had to come up with this big scheme to get the Mexicans to keep an eye on me because of these implants and the fact that their false reality is crumbling. Now, how easy was it? It took them years. They've been at this since 2016 down here. A lot of these neighbors that have been bought off knew me before the slander campaign. And it took, see what happened is now they're running out. These perp academies are pathetic in Rosarito, Tijuana. I don't know what they teach these would-be Mexican stalkers, but they don't have it. So what they have to do now, they had to drill down into the immediate neighborhood because they know what I look like. So what they did is they all made them offers they can't refuse, giving them cars, remodeling their houses, building houses, giving them security systems that are hooked up to the internet. So these creeps, these sad sack Satanists that are camped out down here can watch what's going on in the neighborhood, because you can't count on these Mexicans for anything. Almost all of them are unreliable, but some of them have tried to help me, but they can't because they're poor. They've got nothing. And if they continue to help me, then what's going to happen? Well, we know, folks. So see, when you talk about all this, they don't want to hear it. The one way a Mexican gets through life is by ignoring everything. Now, to continue this investigation concerning myself, Paul Wilson Lindner Jr., you think they'd come up with something? They're flying around now in its 7th year? And let's just forget about the UFOs and the alien insectoids and the fallen angels, all that. None of that has nothing to do with me. But wow, can a country survive that? Can a country survive that does a backwards ass investigation, trying to cover up their crimes against the children of their own country. Wow. Well, how do they do that, folks? Right? They take over all the institutions in society that control who lives, who dies, who gets help, who gets financial help, who gets medical help, and who gets put out on the street. All you have to do is control, right, the political system, the judicial system, the legal system, the medical system, right? And then the social media, which was created to essentially brainwash everybody, right? The mainstream news, this is who you can count on. And it's sad, millions of Americans still buy into this. If you go on Facebook, it's about the most pathetic thing you've ever seen in your life. Now think about if you